By the end of this video, you'll be able to write your name in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, not just as a fun art style, but in a way that connects you to how this language really worked. We will look at the sounds, the signs, and a bit of the grammar behind this beautiful script of the Nile. Hello everyone, and welcome to Dori of the Nile. I'm Dora Petrova, an Egyptologist, researcher, and a storyteller. Here we explore ancient Egypt through language, culture, and myth. I bring you the facts, the poetry, and the human voice behind the ruins. Let's begin with the writing system itself, the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Egyptian hieroglyphs are often seen as sacred symbols or decorative art, but they form a real writing system, complex, flexible, and surprisingly logical. Every sign has a purpose, and each can fall into one of three main categories: phonograms, ideograms, and determinatives. A phonogram is a sign that represents a sound, just like letters in our alphabet. These signs don't necessarily mean what they depict. They help us spell out words. Let's take the hieroglyph pear, which means house, or R, which means mouth. Then you have phonograms. Phonograms represent the sound that spell out individual words. In this case, the sign pair will have the phonetical complement of R, and this will then mean altogether, this will mean to ascend, the verb to ascend. Then we have determinatives, silent signs placed at the end of the words to help clarify their meaning. A walking leg sign, for example, might be added to show that the word involves motion or travel. In this case, if we add the walking legs determinative, this will mean the verb to come forth, just transliterated as pair. One of the most fascinating features is that hieroglyphs can be written in multiple directions: left to right, right to left, top to bottom. You always read towards the faces. This flexibility made hieroglyphs ideal for artfully arranged temple and tomb texts. So you can have pair written like this or like this. This one you need to read it from left to right, and this one from right to left. You can also have it written like so. Then you will have to read it from top to bottom. In this direction too. This flexibility is a very useful feature of ancient Egyptian language. Now let's focus on one specific group of signs: the uniconsonantal signs. These are the closest thing ancient Egyptian has to an alphabet. Each one represents a single consonant sound. There are 24 of them, and they're essential for spelling foreign names or Egyptian words phonetically. Let's look at them one by one, like building blocks for your name. We have A, which depicts a vulture, also known as Aleph. It's a voiced glottal sound, something between ah. Then we have the reed leaf sign that represents E, as in the English B. You can also have it written double, like so, and then this will stand for Y. But it will also be pronounced as a bit more prolonged E. Again, meet, like to meet someone. Then we have the quail cheek. So I cannot, it's so difficult to write this one. The quail cheek. There you go, almost. So this is the quail cheek, and this stands for, we transliterate this one as W, but the sound goes mostly like O or U, like in two in English. Then we have an easier one. The sign represents a leg, and it stands for the sound B, as in boy. Then we have P, just P, like papa in English. We have F, which technically represents a little worm. Yeah, the sign represents a worm with horns, and this stands for F. Yeah. Then we have M, that represents an owl. M like as mama. We have waves, that stands for N, like in no. We have R, that represents a mouth and stands for, and R was perhaps a little bit more different than the English R. Perhaps it was pronounced more like the Spanish R, like perro for a dog, with this rolling of the tongue where the tip of the tongue goes a little bit over here. Perro. Remember the aleph, the A sound. This is, by the way, a voucher with a little bit. Let's fix the beak. There is another A that depicts an arm, like an arm like this. Do you see the resemblance? So this one, as I already told you, transliterate as this, and this one transliterate as only this. They both stand for the sound A. These sounds also exist in the Arabic alphabet. I just wanted to add this one in because you can see that this one will be used in writing some names, since it's a horizontal sign and not vertical. Let's say if you have the name Maria, will be written like, it can be written like this, Maria, Maria. You see, in this way I picked this ein or A sound because it will group better with this horizontal sign. It just looks better. The Egyptians were much into using space in the most efficient way. So Maria will be transliterated like so. That's your first name in ancient Egyptian. There it is. Then we have the 4 types of H. And this one is my favorite. This one is an animal belly with boobies. So this is, let's say, the normal, the ordinary H. Then we have H with a little bow, H with a little dot, and H with a stroke underneath. All of these are different variation of the sound, like in hot. While this one here and this one over here, they go more to the German, let's say, auch, or the Scottish loch, or the Arabic for Ahmed. So it's like this sound. Then we have S, which should represent a piece of cloth. This is S as in snake. We have this one that is also S, but it's something between S or Z. Sometimes it can also be transliterated as Z. I usually transliterate this as S as well. And then we have this that is, wait a second, a pool. And this one stands for sh, like shot. Yeah. Then we have Q. We have K. And we have, oh my goodness, G. Beautiful. It represents a hill. So it's like going up the hill. K is a basket, if I'm not mistaken, and G is, wait a second, a jar. And G as in dagger. Yes. While K in this case more like in the English to kick. Then we have T, the ch sound. So this is T. This is as well transcribed as T, but with a stroke underneath, and it's more like the sound CH, like in chew, to chew. T is just a regular T, as in thermometer. Then we have D, which is a hand. I think so. D, just regular D. And then we have the cobra, which is J, or D with this stroke underneath. It sounded like J, like in June, July, but more with a D, so it's J. I completely forgot. There is another sign that was introduced in the later period of the Egyptian history, mostly to accommodate writing foreign names, for example. And it's, I cannot write it in the most beautiful way, but it's, oh man. Oh my goodness. This will be very embarrassing. Oh my goodness. It will not get any better. This is supposed to be a lion. It stands for L. Cannot write it. It's good that we have ways of typing ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs as well, but this is for another video. Now that you have the full set of signs, or the Egyptian alphabet, you can begin spelling your name phonetically using these beautiful symbols. These signs also form the foundation for how we reconstruct the ancient Egyptian language itself, its structure, sound system, and poetic expression. So now, when we know all the uniconsonantal signs, let's try writing some names in ancient Egyptian. How about Damien? My son's name, Damien. So we have D. Then here we're gonna add A, but it will be the hand and not Aleph, the vulture, because D is horizontal. And then we're gonna add the complementing A that is horizontal as well. So day. Instead of writing these, the Egyptians will do just this abbreviated version of the writ leaves and then followed by N, again to save the space, because otherwise it would have been the writ leaf again and then N, the abbreviated version, which will be just 2 strokes like that, or like that, depending on the direction of the writing. So yeah, that was actually very interesting. Example, what other female name? Sophia. Yeah, let's write Sophia. So we're gonna have the S, the quail, chick, the quail, chick. So, and then here, shall we write it with PF or just F? Let's write it with P. So phi, and then we're gonna put the reed leaf, and then we're gonna put the big A, Aleph, instead of Ein. I call it small a and a big A. This is the voucher, and this is the extended arm. I always make these beak a bit too long. When writing names, ancient Egyptians often ended with a determinative, a silent glyph that showed the type of word. For personal names, they added either the sitting man determinative or the woman determinative. For personal names, like what we have here as Damien and Sophia, we'll add the man determinative over here and the woman determinative over here. This wasn't just decorative. It marked that the name clearly is that of a person, either male or female, and visually completed the word. You've probably seen those long oval shapes enclosing hieroglyphic names. That is cartouche. But this wasn't just decorative. In ancient Egypt, the cartouche was used exclusively for pharaohs. It enclosed the king's name in magical loop, marking it as eternal and divine. The Egyptians believed names had power, and enclosing the king's name protected it from the chaos and erased all limits of time. So today, if you add your name in a cartouche, you are not doing something historically accurate, but you are paying a tribute to a very ancient idea that the name matters and that name deserves to be protected and remembered. So go ahead and draw one, as long as you now understand its original purpose, and maybe imagine yourself just for a moment as a ruler of the two lands. We can also put, there is not that much space for this one, but I can just enclose the name of Sophia in a cartouche. Boom. By the way, as a little bonus, I thought I will teach you how to write a few Egyptian words, only using the uniconsonantal signs that you already know. So let's start with the word for day. So let's start with the word Ra. These are the uniconsonantal signs R and Ein. So they would transliterate like this. The combination of these two can mean a day. And then you're gonna write the sun disk determinative to signify, to classify this word as Ra, which means day. But if this word is written with this determinative, which is the God determinative, then this Ra means Ra, the sun god. Then let's write this word. Oopsie. I'm always messing up this hieroglyph. There we go. So this means gerech, night. Then we can write one that is very interesting. I like how it's grouped. We have P, Then we have the T sign, and then we have the determinative for sky underneath, and this means pet, sky. But how do we know how the ancient Egyptians sounded? The short answer is we don't, at least not exactly. Ancient Egyptian writing didn't record vowels, and many of the consonants have no perfect modern equivalent. But by comparing later stages of the language, especially Coptic, which included vowels, and foreign transcriptions into, let's say, Akkadian or Hebrew, and even Greek, linguists have formed educational approximations. So when you write your name in hieroglyphs, you're not replicating ancient pronunciation. You're using transliteration. It's not exact, but it's close enough to capture the spirit of the language. Writing your name in ancient Egyptian isn't just about symbols. It's about stepping into a world where writing was sacred, where every line and curve carried memory, power, and breath. You're not just transcribing letters. You are echoing a civilization that believed to speak a name was to give it life, and to write, it was to preserve it for eternity. The ancient Egyptians called their writing medu, netjer, divine speech. The Greeks later call it hieroglyphicus, meaning sacred carving. This was not ordinary writing. It was the language of gods, a bridge between the seen and the unseen. Every sign you've learned today as part of a script that once invoked the gods, crowned kings, and whispered love in the dark folds of papyrus and stone. And maybe now, when you see a wall of hieroglyphs, it won't look so distant. Maybe it will feel like a voice, paused in mid-sentence, waiting for someone like you to listen. I'm Dori of the Nile, where the past speaks and the future listens.